Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to Torch Tales, Stories Behind the Hood. I'm your host, Frank Vargas, aka Traveling Frankie. You guys know by now how this works. Someone sits there, I sit here, we have a conversation. They just happen to be in the welding industry. And today, my guest is Adam David out of Erie, Pennsylvania. Metal, I'm not going to call it a metal fabricator. I'm going to say metal artist, fourth generation, right?
Yes, sir. Yep.
So you've been doing this for a while. Your family has been doing this for a while. We're gonna get to know all that, but that's secondary. First, we want to know who Adam is. Why the welding industry? We kind of know already because I already gave you that fourth generation, so that kind of give you an idea. But who is David Adam? And I want to first. Are you born and raised in Erie?
I am. So yeah, I've lived here my entire life.
Oh,
It's a great community. A lot of fabrication and ironwork has come out of this area. So yeah, I've lived here my whole life. I've done a lot of traveling recently, but yep, been here my whole
gotcha.
life. So
And when because I was reading a little bit about you. When you say fourth generation, go back and tell me who was the first.
so the first would be my great grandfather.
Okay.
Okay, and he was the first one in order to start the welding into the family. He had learned it. And then my grandfather, Joe Stempka, he was the one to really take it on and start to, get the family into it and start doing it as a business, taking on all
In
kinds.
what way? What kind of business was he really getting into?
Well, it started out as like if somebody needed a bed on their dump truck,
Okay.
if somebody needed anything fabricated, and then over time it turned into building parts for General Electric, working at the shipyard, repairing boilers, doing all kinds of welding like that. And then, of course, he had 7 children, and all of those boys learned the welding trade as well, and
Oh, really?
went on to build businesses in fabrication like that. And so, when I was coming up, I was always helping my grandfather and my dad, and I would be at his shop, and I was just around it. I was around, my uncles having a business and my grandfather and welding and helping my grandfather. And you don't realize at the time how much you're actually, soaking in. At
Nope.
16 years old, you're thinking about girls and four-wheelers and this and
I
that.
know.
But fast forward into when I'm in my, late 20s and 30s, it's amazing to me how much I really did pick up when I was working with them. And then, of course, my career in welding from there. So, you know, it is 4 generations, and
Yeah.
not welding art. So I'm the first one
Gotcha.
to do it artistically, but
That was gonna be my.
manufacturing, yeah.
And so, as you are growing up exposed to, of course, metal and sparks, throughout, was there a point where you thought that you were actually going to do something else? Did you actually, or you know what, this is secondhand to me. I know this, so might as well go into it. Was there something else you were thinking of?
So when I was young and I was in high school, I was always drawn to art. Okay, full disclosure, like I love to draw, I love to paint. This is would be in like high school and my
Yeah.
formative years when I was young, and I loved that to the point where when I was getting ready to leave high school, I was thinking about going to art school. Now, for
So
my
what you're
own.
really saying is that there's still some walls in Erie, Pennsylvania with graffiti from Adam.
No, I actually didn't do any of that.
Okay.
Honestly, I didn't, but like draw, oh my goodness, in high school, I mean, I just was constantly drawing and painting and, that kind of a thing. And when I look back at my life now, it's like, yeah, that was always inside of me.
What
It
kind of art? What were you painting back then?
Well, the painting really came from doing like advanced art in high school. So
Okay.
I would say more so doodling, drawing,
Okay. Got it. Yep.
that kind of thing. It was what I was good at and was honing in, and just I didn't know what to do with it. How do you make money drawing pictures? So, you know, and then of course at the same time I'm learning this whole welding field because that's what my family does. Um, and when I when I left high school, I should have followed my heart and went towards the art. Looking back, right? Like anybody
Gotcha.
can
Yeah,
do
yeah.
that, you know. But I'm also grateful. So I ended up going into the welding trade. I went and worked with my uncles, and then I went to the shipyard. And then I went to General Electric making locomotives and whatnot. But what I've come to realize is like, had I not had all of that
That background.
experience in the welding, it's just like a media to use for art, you know. And
Oh, for
so,
sure. Just
yeah,
just learning, hey, every time I apply heat to this kind of metal, the discoloration, the different methods,
yeah,
and all that stuff that you learn, that's a great base for what you do now. What was
yeah.
the first process you ever tried?
It was just MIG welding, you know.
Okay.
I did a lot of MIG welding, and then of course I learned stick, and then started to do some TIG. TIG is still the one that I'm like honing in. Like I could MIG weld anything, right? I could stick weld anything, and I can TIG weld anything. But I am not like these people that you see on some of these sites.
Little stacking dimes, right? Yeah.
Oh, I mean, they're just incredible, and people in my family are very, very good as well. But you know, I just never had the opportunity where it was like, all right, Adam, here's your job every day. You're going to TIG weld these parts. It was always MIG, it was always flux
Yeah.
core, it was always stick, some big, you know.
Hey.
But now I have the TIG welders in my shop, and I use them to weld together copper to stainless and silicon bronze to just playing with
Yeah.
it, you know.
So how big is your shop?
Oh God. So I just put an expansion on it. I
Okay.
think it's it started out as like 20 by 25, and then we put a painting and like paint booth onto the side that was like another 15 by 25. And then we just put a 40 by 60 addition on it because the jobs keep getting bigger and there's multiple jobs going on at the same time. So I've been blessed, you know.
That is awesome. Now, from drawing to working the structural linear kind of welding, right? How you were working for other companies. Were you already kind of making little pieces of art here and there in your spare time? Were you
Mm.
already dabbing into that yet or no?
No, I would say for a long time, because of the reputation of my family, it was very important for me personally to be like, all right, Adam, you know, your Stumpka name is known around here. You need to be very good and lay very nice welds and try to live up to that. So I would say artistically, in the way that I was laying these beads and my knowledge of being able to do this on a super high level, the welding that is, you know, I took that very seriously. It wasn't until I would say I was working at General Electric like 2017, 2018 that I started to just have this inside. I felt like not that I'd mastered welding, right? It takes a
Yeah.
lifetime to master welding, but I started to see the opportunity of like, well, this is just a media like anything
Yep.
else, like clay or whatever, and play with it a little bit. And I remember, you know, Facebook and some of these different social media sites were a little young at the time, but I couldn't even tell you who it was, but this welder had made this bear and
Okay.
I had seen it on Facebook and I was like, "Oh my god, that
Whoa.
is." Yeah, and it just struck something inside of me. It's like, "Wait a minute, you know, maybe I could do the welding and do that kind of a thing." And that idea bounced around in my head for the
For
next
a
couple
while.
of years as I
Oh, really? That long, huh?
convinced myself that hey, well, you know, I had little kids and I had bills and things and it's like
How many kids you got?
I got 2 kids. Well,
How
actually,
old?
I have 3 stepdaughters now and 2 that are, you know, my
Okay.
own. So,
And
so
how old are they?
my daughter is 20 and my son just turned 19 and my stepdaughters are 26, 22, and 20.
Is
So,
any one of them into welding?
my son, yeah, my son works right with me. So I'm teaching him the
Oh,
trade as we go right now. Yeah, Bryce.
that is
Yep.
so cool, man.
Yeah.
Hopefully that stays that fifth generation.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it will. You know, he wants to be a musician and so he's going down that path, playing
Yeah.
learning to play guitar and everything. But in the meantime, he works with dad, helping on these sculptures, and I'm teaching him welding and fabrication and all of that, which he absolutely loves. So, you know,
And I
we'll
know
see.
that is so cool. That is so cool to have, just to spend that time,
Yeah.
quality time. Because even now, I've worked. with my sons in a sense before, and sometimes when you're in the middle of it, oh my God, there's a lot of things that are happening. But then
Yeah.
when you look back a few years after, you go like, you know what, I wouldn't change that for anything. So
Yeah.
that is pretty cool. And I know
Yeah.
things for you on the art side. Everything kind of started with a flag.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So I can speak on that. Sorry, not to cut
yeah.
you off. So I realized really quickly that the only way for me to transition from having this job as a welder and paying my bills to potentially making sculptures for a living was like I was going to need a product, something that was, somewhat replicatable,
Yeah.
that I could sell to bring in revenue for me to transition off of, having that job and going into the sculpture side of it. And so
Yeah.
I had been actually the first thing I made was this deer skull for a friend of mine. Now at the time I didn't know him, Steve Scarfino down in Florida,
Oh,
and
really?
I made that for him and he loved it and I put it on social media. And then the next thing he's like, Adam, I was thinking about like, a battle worn flag, like it had went through a battle, but it still looks beautiful,
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I made him one and put that on social media. And then, like, the things just start to click in your mind. It's like, oh, wait a minute, Adam, what if we started to make these? And so I went down that path and designed, my specific version of what I consider to be like a battle worn flag,
Yeah.
and, made the files and developed the process of building these. And, fast forward, I think it's actually been 7 years now at this point. We have shipped them all over the country. I
So
think
how
we're
many
up
flags you think you've moved so far?
like 50,000.
Holy
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Now, so I'm guessing you have your own store, your website, or
I do, yeah. Yep. I have
and
my Metalheads USA, which I've decided to separate the two. Like Metalheads USA is the flags, signage, and then for me specifically as an artist with these one of one sculptures and stuff, that is Stempka Designs. And whether or not that was a mistake, separating the two, we'll find out. But like the customers that are coming to get a flag are not the same people, or, a hotel or a wealthy businessman or whoever that may want one of these, large scale expensive sculptures.
100%. So you have other people working with you at the shop other than your son?
I do. At one time, we had up to 7, 8 people.
Huh.
What I've realized at the moment is that I don't know that I like that so much, you know, because and only
People are
because,
people, dude.
well,
Yeah.
it's not even the people. It's like then Adam becomes this boss, right? And my whole day is just chasing people around and making sure they're doing what they're supposed to be. And it's like, well, hold up, Adam. That was not the dream. The dream is that you come in each day and you're, inspired by these incredible things that you're making and you're hands on with them. And it took me about a year and a half to realize that. But if I don't stick to that, then I'm going to find myself as just this boss, and I have to be that anyway.
Of course, yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but if I didn't catch it now, it could just be, I'm overseeing 30 people, and that's not really what I want. Maybe I'll pay somebody else that can do that at some point so that I could focus on the art. But
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like at some point, just the physicality of it, just physically, maybe whether it's 10, 15 years from now, if you don't start putting those dots together,
mhm.
because there's only so much we can do that our bodies are going to allow us to do, right? So
Yeah,
that's
yep.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
I'm learning what I love and what I don't love, and the aspect of the creating, the making of the mock-ups, the actual building of the pieces, as much as I can be involved in, and I am enjoying. Like I love making the content, like thinking about how I want to present this and working with photographers and stuff. I
yeah.
really enjoy that too. Yeah.
So that's great segue. I love how
Hmm.
we went right into that. So
Yeah.
were you into social media right from the get-go, early on, Facebook, Instagram, whatever other platforms? And when did you think that, oh my God, look, I went over 5,000, 10,000 followers, or whatever the number might be, that you go, huh, this is going somewhere?
Hmm. So I had Facebook. I can't even remember when it came out, but it wasn't until I started to do, like I said, that first deer head and that first flag after posting that to my personal account, and seeing the reaction that I was getting,
Yeah,
that I realized it's like, oh, okay, well, what are you going to call yourself? Metalheads. And then I went and got a logo made, and built and did that through Facebook. Now I still to this day don't really have a ton of followers and stuff, but I didn't really focus on it like I should have. And now I've been really hammering it on my Stempka Designs page, um, just in the last 2 years, I would say, through Instagram and Facebook, and it's really starting to grow. And even at my small level, I think I have like 18,000 people or something on
yeah,
Instagram. It's amazing what the opportunities that brings, when you're
for
getting
sure.
people's attention and they're like, hey, what's this guy doing? It could be a client, it could be a customer, it could be like yourself, a
Yeah,
podcast. And that just keeps going, man. It is
it
extremely valuable.
100%. I've always said it's just a digital business card, and if
Hmm.
you are in business, we all have to have business cards. Do you use LinkedIn as well?
I have never used LinkedIn, and I have never really used that one. I'm probably missing the boat there, but I do realize that, like, until I have, or take the step to maybe have a small team that can help me to manage. It's like, well, how many different social media platforms can you be on, Adam, and make them good, right? It's like, Instagram, Facebook,
TikTok or whatever. Yeah, I know. Yeah,
TikTok, X, so like it's all of these different things, and so
I
I
I
mean,
can
and
tell
then
you
they
the
want.
reason. Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
go ahead. I was going to say,
And then,
and the way the algorithms work, they want you on there.
oh
And
yeah,
unless you're on there in those accounts and you're posting consistently, then your stuff falls off. So it almost takes that you either have to pay a team that is doing that for you every day, or you're spending a lot of your time on there.
trust me about it. I have a full-time job, and I created torch tales. Just because the industry has been good to me, and one thing led to the other. I asked a friend, like, "Hey, would you mind just sharing your story?" And I'll
Yeah,
post them somewhere. And they said yes. And then that developed into somebody else and somebody else. And now I've been lucky enough to have some really cool people in the industry.
yeah.
You're one of them. And
Oh, thank you.
for whatever reason, they keep saying yes. But what that meant is that, oh crap, I guess I really have to now do this. And I find myself in a hotel room in the middle of the night trying to edit some stuff. I'm like, oh great, I gotta go to sleep. So I
Yeah,
get the feeling. The
yeah,
reason why I mentioned LinkedIn is because you have all this exposure through all these other platforms. On LinkedIn, you also get exposed to all those executives, all those guys that want that piece for, the owners of these other huge companies and so on, so on. And it's amazing how some welder friends that are in your area as well, um, how well they've done just by using LinkedIn to be exposed to those, you know, big deals, I guess. Yeah.
yeah. Well, you're
I
talking me
just
into it. You're talking me into it. I think that I should probably do that. At least have some sort of a presence on there, and I think it legitimizes you too, right? It's basically like
it's a
a
professional Facebook.
professional Facebook, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So I
Yeah.
mean, I always tell that every time I ask them, like, if you don't have it, you might. It's amazing the reach and the kind of people that are there that are not on your regular TikTok or Instagram.
Hmm.
So anyway, you're
Yeah.
an
No,
adult.
that's
You know what to
interesting.
do. Yeah, yeah.
I'll get on there. Yeah.
I know.
So,
And when you create your art pieces, where does the inspiration comes from? Is it some always by commission? Like, hey, I want a horse, I want an eagle, I want whatever, or do you create things before you have actually have a customer?
so that is a great question. The goal is to create before that. Now, I realize that that's quite a road to get to. In order to be at that level, and you're just creating something and people are clamoring to get it. In my opinion, you have to have quite a base to build and quite a big platform to share that with everybody. If you
Yep.
really want to garner the type of money that the pieces I want to create, I would need to get for them. And so I have done a lot of commissions, and I look at them as opportunities to shine and go above and beyond, which gets me opportunities um, to eventually be at the level where, hey, look at what Stempka Designs just
Yeah,
made.
yeah.
You know, it's for sale. So so that's kind of the road that I'm going down. The piece, I don't know if you've seen the lion that I'm working on right now.
I've
Um,
seen I've seen a few clips and stuff. Yeah, because I was scrolling through it.
yeah. So that one I'm just free form making myself. I happen to have the money and stuff to invest in a piece that I wanted to make. And so that's actually like my first attempt at just, hey, I'm making this and I'm gonna try to sell it and see where that goes. And I still take commissions. I try to do as much as I possibly can.
Do you have like art gallery stuff, that just are sitting there on commission, just kind of, or not yet?
No, so like when I first started this, I made one of the most beautiful pieces I've ever done at the time. It was this beautiful deer skull. Um, and that was my first thing. It's like, oh, okay, well, I'll take this and I'll get this in some galleries here locally and see if it will sell. And the price was like super low. It was like $1,200, and which
Oh, is that
along with
silver looking one, kind of
yeah, it's the
just the
silver
antlers?
one with
And
the chain neck, and I mean it was
I
like
saw
3.5 feet high. But
I saw
I
that.
learned
Yeah.
a lot of lessons from that. It's like, number one, you got to get this stuff in front of the right people. A piece like that in Erie, Pennsylvania, at this little shop is not going to get anyone's attention. If I had that out in Vale in one
Yeah.
of those galleries, I might get $85,000. um, I'm serious. Like, it's just night and day. It's totally different like that.
So that's a good question too. So that one was about $1,200. Got it. You're starting. That's one of the best pieces and one of the early ons. What's the most expensive piece you've ever sold?
So the most expensive piece I've ever sold was the guitars that I did for Luke Bryan. So those
Okay.
ended up going for $87,000,
Woo.
and those were completely handmade of stainless steel, brass, copper. They played. There was a
Oh,
copper
really?
cowboy hat and a stand that went with all three of them. And
Where are
so I
those
gifted
guitars?
the
Where
one
did they end up?
Luke, Luke,
Oh,
Luke
at
Bryan.
his house? Like,
Yeah, yeah, yep. Yeah, and then
nice.
so one went to him, and then the other one went to a gentleman that purchased the other one down in Texas. So
That is so awesome. And
yeah,
what is the biggest piece you've ever done? Is that the one? Size wise, volume.
no, no, no. So I did this cello, which I need to take new pictures of that cello. I don't know if you've seen that, but that thing is like 9.5 feet tall. But the picture kind of makes it look like it's small. It was humongous. But I did that giraffe that was 13.5 feet tall, and I did a couple pieces for a Jewish temple here locally, and
Okay.
that had these big giant brass or bronze um, cast bronze pieces, and that thing ended up being, I think it was 15 feet tall.
Really.
Yeah.
What is, now that you've mentioned, brass and bronze, like, what's your best material? Like, what's that one metal that you just love to work with?
Oh boy. Well, I do love working with copper. I love working with copper. Um, uh, Honestly, my favorite thing after being in metals my whole life is to contrast the different metals against one another and
Yep.
then heat them and give them different
See what
textures.
happens.
Yeah, and when you start to layer them in interesting ways like that, oh boy, can you make some incredible stuff?
I know that's I've seen some other metal artists too that they just love, like, hey,
Yeah.
technically it says that you're not supposed to glue these two metals together, and or
Hmm.
whatever the case might be, and then you get some amazing pieces, just different things. And so that's great. And of course, you've talked about the growth and a little bit of where some of the pieces and maybe more of a reach using the platforms and all that. But what is really the end goal? Like, where is Adam wants to see himself in 10 years from now? I'm not even going to give you five. I'm going to give you 10.
Hmm. Well,
Because
that is
I'm
something.
assuming you're in your early 40s or 40s somewhere in there.
Yeah, I'm 41. I turned
Okay.
42 in April here of this
Yeah.
year. But you know, that is a question that I keep going over in my mind here. And what would make me happy?
Well, it looks like
Yeah, there we go.
Adam. It looks like I lost you there for a few seconds.
Yeah, no, okay.
Okay. Well. All right.
Sorry.
No,
I'm
it's all
so
good.
sorry.
No, it's all good. I'm gonna actually just
Are you still
ask the
there?
question again. I'm here. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I'm
I
so
think I
sorry,
can.
man. I'm so
Oh,
sorry.
don't worry about it, dude. This is all good. I'm just glad that
Oh,
this time it wasn't me. Usually it's me. It's all good. It's all good. But can you hear me? Can you hear me? I can hear you. Can you hear me?
okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
I cannot hear you,
Okay. Well, there's got to be
unfortunately.
something on your end.
Me-
Okay.
Hello?
Okay. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
I
Man,
can hear you. Can you?
I am so sorry. My
Oh, it's all
mother
good.
is blowing up my phone and it's messing up everything here. Anyway,
It,
um,
it's all good. So the question was, what is the vision board for you 10 years from now? Like, what is the end goal for you? What do you see as the I made it kind of thing?
okay. So for me, I think that my goal between me and you is to be one of the best metal artists in the world, where people, like we were talking, are clamoring for the next piece, and
Yep.
they're excited to see what I've
What's coming
created
next? Yeah.
next, and I and all of the marketing and everything that goes around that. That's really what I want, and in that way I'm creating still, and I have control of the way things are presented and the way things are sold. And so that is the end goal, and I wouldn't, of course, I would need a team of very skilled people around me, a small team,
Yeah.
to help that to happen. But that's what I want.
You said that you've been traveling in that last year. What kind of travel? Like work travel, like exposing the art? Like, do you go to shows like Fab Tech and any other shows?
So I was actually so busy that I didn't get to go to Fab Tech this past year. I had hoped to. I do. I spend a lot of time in Phoenix, Arizona. I have a couple friends out there with a lot of connections. I'm a part of another company called Ion,
Okay.
that makes fitness equipment. I helped to develop that, and so I travel out there. I was in Atlanta, for the Skills USA.
Oh, okay.
I was a judge for that, for the welding
Oh,
art.
cool.
Um,
So
and
you know Shannon from World Like a Girl?
I know Shannon. Yeah, she's wonderful. Yep, she is
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah,
Yep,
she's one of my good friends. Yeah.
yeah, she is absolutely wonderful. Um,
Do
yeah,
you belong? Go ahead.
and I really enjoy that. I love Erie, but I like getting outside of Erie too.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. And that's part of the whole exposure thing. Do you work at all or go to any events by the American Welding Society, AWS?
No, I haven't. I haven't yet. I'm open to anything though. The more and more I meet the community of people that are even doing the same thing that I am, they are the most
Yeah.
accepting, wonderful. It's just that it doesn't feel like it's a competition. It just
No,
feels
it's
like
not.
everybody's helping one another, as it should be, because everybody's art is going to be completely different.
Yeah, the reason
Um,
why I ask is because, I think, the American Welding Society, of course, has sections all over the US. And, I've found a lot of my friends that are into what you're into and fabricators and all kinds of things that they join a section and then they also find themselves getting exposure through the American Welding Society. They find other friends alike, and so on, so on. It's just another medium to really just make connections. And Alison Paya from Meraki Metalworks in
Yeah.
California, and you know, her journey is like very early on still, and she's just, you know, absorbing all these things. And I run the section here in South Florida, and I brought a bunch of them to do pretty much a hands-on to two schools, and from there, you know, things kind of started happening with her and the American Welding Society. So it's always just those little avenues that you can find yourself, but of course, it also means just one more thing on your plate. You know, it's like, where is that balance, right? But
Yeah, I mean, I think that I am always open to giving back. I've seen how that can help not only you, but the people that you're helping, whether it's judging or sharing knowledge with people. I am very open to that. Trish, I think her last name might be Fliss from the AWS, was able to. She came up to Erie. She interviewed me and was able to get me a beautiful interviewed piece in one of the magazines. I belong
yeah,
to the AWS.
yeah,
Tommy Castreba, who
yeah.
locally here,
I know Tom very well.
wonderful. He has helped me tremendously. So there, yeah, the AWS is absolutely wonderful.
Yeah,
It
so
is.
you really got to, you know, reach out to Tom and say, hey, where's my section? Where's that? And maybe just even become part of that board, because
Yeah,
organically you're going to get exposed and be in things that you didn't think that you were going to be. So yeah, just, you
awesome.
know, it's a win-win for both sides. So definitely look that up.
For
And
sure.
you know, since I travel for a living, I always find myself in everywhere and anywhere. So for sure, next time I'm in Erie, I definitely want to come check the shop.
Oh, I would
You
be
know,
honored. Yeah,
would
please. I
love
mean,
to. I think I'll, in the next 6 months or so, I know I'm going to be in that area, regardless. So definitely, and same thing for you. Like if you ever come to South Florida, um, hit me up, because definitely I can then show you my neck of the woods and maybe give
yeah.
you a
Well,
tour
I'm
of the
actually,
factory that I work for.
yeah, I'm actually, I don't know where we're going. My wife set all this up, but we are going in the end of February here, down to Florida, and we've rented a house with all the step girls and stuff. So I'll figure out when I get off of here where exactly we're going in Florida, and maybe I can meet you then. And again, you're
Yeah.
always welcome. Anytime you're in here, you have my number now. Text me, hey Adam, I'm up here. Would like to stop by. Absolutely, come on over.
No, awesome, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah,
And you know, I'm gonna post a few pictures once I'm ready to you know, do the to post the interview itself, because I
sure.
think again your art is so cool. It's definitely, it's just eye catching. I love the
Thank you.
colors, and definitely some of those pieces, man, are just off the chain. And
Thank you.
where what's in the next 3 months? How much work
Mhm.
do you have? Like, are you, you know, except for the line that you just mentioned, do you have other things lined up that you're working on?
Yeah, absolutely. So much so that it's almost overwhelming. I don't want to speak on too many. I have
Of
two
course.
incredibly huge projects.
Okay.
One for the Cubs, the Chicago Cubs, and another one for a local company that I don't feel ready. I should announce yet.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
and then I just posted yesterday. I'm doing this great big gateway sculpture in Titusville, which is not far from Erie, Pennsylvania. I have a memorial bench that I have so much. It's like,
How are these people finding you, Adam? Is it word of mouth?
well, I have a saying called attract, not chasing. Attracting, not chasing. Meaning that,
Okay.
like, I try to post the most incredible things and just get the momentum running and do it through social media, and
Yeah.
that brings the clients and brings the people out of nowhere.
Really?
Honestly, yeah. I mean, the opportunities just keep rolling in, and I just
Like,
feel very, very
I mean,
blessed.
I can see that. I'm very interested. Like, for example, someone like the Chicago Cubs. How did they
Mm.
find you? The social
Instagram.
media?
Instagram.
Really?
Yep. Yep.
See, that goes to tell you, man. That just, you know,
Yep.
confirms, you know, the social media power done
Yep.
right.
Hmm.
Yeah. That
Yeah,
is
and I mean, nothing I've ever done has even gone viral, or like I said, I 18,000. That's a nice little chunk, but it's nothing like some of these accounts with
oh
close to a
yeah.
million people. So, I don't.
Yeah.
I can't really explain it. I mean, I'm a big believer in the man upstairs. God has definitely changed my life in many, many ways. But there is. I just feel blessed, man. There is a lot coming quickly, and
Thank you
it's
for thank you for saying that, because
yeah,
definitely you can tell, and
yeah,
God has a very
yeah,
sometimes weird way of rewarding us, but it's
yeah,
always a reward once you do things right, or at least you have the your heart in the right place,
yeah.
and
That's
that's
it
all it
too.
is. Yeah,
And it
that's it.
wasn't always like that. It
Oh,
wasn't every.
hey,
I made every
hey,
mistake that was like you could ever imagine, man.
dude,
It's all
son,
that failing that got me here. So yeah,
that's it. That's it. That's
yeah,
exactly it. Well, Adam, I want to thank you for definitely being another advocate for the welding industry. Like I said, the art you're
absolutely.
making, the even bringing your son being part of it, being a fourth generation, hopefully a fifth, and so on, so on. Like I've always said with I've always loved this line from the movie Spider-Man with great power comes great responsibility.
Yes. Yeah.
And sometimes it just takes one person to be inspired to be that next
Yeah.
superstar, and
Yeah.
that's all we can do. And
Yeah.
so I thank you for taking time on a Saturday afternoon already.
Yeah.
Keep kicking ass out there, because I mean it's just I can see we'll have where have they where are they now a year or 2 years from now, and you'll be
Yeah.
like, oh, Frank, who? I don't remember that guy.
Yeah. Yeah. God willing, we'll see. I just try to stay humble and do the best job I can on every piece. But thank you, Frank, for having me on. This was a wonderful conversation, and I'm really appreciative that you gave me the platform.
No, thank you. And again, enjoy your weekend. Let me know where you're coming to Florida. Maybe if I'm in town, definitely I can, come meet you and whatever. But yeah, just take care and enjoy your weekend, and we'll stay in touch, brother.
All right, brother. You too.